Marty from Cobham FC TV.
After that big intro, the man just cut the guy, right?
Pumped myself.
Pumped up for the intro.
Yeah, ready to go.
Dead.
Yeah, we could. Hi guys, Marty from Cobham FC TV here today for a very, very special podcast with a very special guest. Now, this guy is potentially Mr. YouTube himself that has created huge tracks in the YouTuberverse. A personal friend of mine who I thank very much for his time to let me have some time. And also very recently, let me just show you the winner of this. Now, this is a serious award. And we're going to get into all that sort of stuff. First, if you haven't already, please like, please subscribe to the channel, please share, and please comment on the video. We're going to be getting into some absolutely awesome stuff with Robbie. We're going to be going through his life. We're going to be going through AFTV, DR Sports. This guy's done it all. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you Mr. Robbie Lyle.
Oh, that's a nice intro, man. Mr. YouTube. I would have called that before. That's a big one. But yeah. No. Great to be here, Marty.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. And thank you for giving us your time. And I think for me, the story that I will put out there straight away, what I really love about you, Robbie, and you know, there's a lot of people in this space. You're a very humble guy. And I remember a story of, I went to a Caribbean shop, big shout to Sugarcane in Bognor Regis, and I saw a picture of a lad there, Huey, who had terminal cancer. And at that time, I'd probably known you for nearly about a year and done some, you know, quite a bit of stuff on AFTV. And I remember it was a Saturday afternoon, about 3 o'clock. You're a very busy guy, and showed you the picture of this lad and just said, look, could you just send over a video? And, you know, just to wish him, you know, some support. And straight away, within 20 minutes, literally, you responded with a video for him, who I forwarded on. And it made that lad's day, week, you know, and that's what I love about you, Robbie. You're a very humble guy, and even doing this verse today, you know, it's great to spend some time with you, and you know, we're going to get to know a bit more about you here. So thank you very much, man.
No, my pleasure.
So,
no
Mr. Robbie Lyle, so please tell everyone where you were, what area you grew up in, school, what it was like for you growing up, and then we're going to go into some of your sort of crucial Robbie. You're going to go into we're going to go into your music, because you had a huge music career as well.
Yeah, the music career was good. Well, listen, born in London.
Yep.
And I sort of grew up between there and then moved to Luton.
Yep.
My parents, you know, I mean, my dad wanted to, you know, move away from London, because he's from northwest London, and he wanted to buy his own property because, you know, came over from Jamaica, and that was his dream, to own his own property. And the only place he could afford to do that was in Luton. So I moved to Luton, and so I did like my some of my schooling there, and yeah, it was you know, I had 3 brothers, and you know, got up to what kids got up to at them sort of ages. But I don't think I was a bad kid, you know what I mean? And yeah, went to school there. And then when I was older, actually, you know, finished school, sort of moved back to London for a time, then back to Luton, then back to London.
Wow.
So I've sort of been in between the two places, but, you know, got my love of Arsenal by, you know, initially through my cousins, and started going to watch Arsenal at a very young age, and just fell in love with Arsenal. And as you said, the other thing that was my real passion at that time was music. As a teenager, my brother had a sound system. I initially just used to just go along and just help to lift the boxes into the venues, you know, with the box boys, they used to call it back in the day there, right? And then just used to mess around with a mic, and just started to realise that I had a little talent for that. And that became my career for quite a while, for quite a long time as well. So I kind of lived like 2 lives.
Yeah.
2 or 3 lives.
So tell us a little bit about that career as well, because, you know, when I look more into it, and obviously I've done my research, but I know you, so that helps. But obviously the Crucial Robbie, because you had a really big hit with this as well.
Yeah, I had a big hit. So what it was, I used to be on the sound system circuit, and, you know, my brother's sound system was quite popular. So you know, it grew to be popular. I mean, it started out from nobody really knew it, but it grew to be really popular. So we used to tour all around. We used to go like all around the UK. You know what I mean? So we'd be in Birmingham and Nottingham. And before that, I hadn't even been to those places. You know what I mean? It was just London, Luton, that was it. So I started going around England, and I had a lyric that I used to do called "Proud to Be Black," which really, every time I used to like perform it in a venue, it went down really, really well. So in the end, we turned it into a recording. It came out and it did brilliantly. It went to #1 in the UK reggae charts, and that kind of just took me to the next level, because all of a sudden now I started performing on my own and performing like all around the UK, around Europe. Did an appearance one time on Reggae Sunsplash, which was like, you know, that's like that'd be like, say, for instance, it's your pinnacle as a reggae artist, because reggae is what I did. Did a few shows in America as well. So yeah, the reggae career was good. You know what I mean? Like, got to meet loads and loads of artists, got to do loads of shows and do various things with some of the biggest artists at that time. So yeah, it was good. It was good as a kid. Growing up, it was a great scene to be part of. The reggae scene was, taught me a lot of lessons that I still have to this day, because it toughens you up. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was a great time.
I was just going to say, because we'll come on to it, obviously the AFTV stuff and the DR Sports stuff in a bit, but for me, you've always had a real natural presence behind the mic. Just the way I've been outside many a time, 2 hours in the freezing cold, outside after being outside in the freezing cold for 90 minutes, upwards, 2 hours. And
or longer.
Yeah, and the rest, and you kind of, where it freezes your brain, literally. And you know, that stage presence with the mic, you seem just very affluent with it, in how you can deliver that. So would you attribute a lot of today's, being in front of camera and mic to those years as a reggae artist?
I do 100%, because like it taught me a lot of things when I was in the reggae industry. #1, it's really, really competitive.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you can't afford to fall off. Like when you're doing like music, especially like in those days reggae, you just could not afford to fall off. So you always had to be on your game.
Yeah.
So if you did a show, you always had to perform. You couldn't drop your performances. If you wanted to stay ahead of the competition, you really had to work hard. And so I learned from those times to put it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't shirk it. You know what I mean? If I had to put it in, I'll put it in. I'd always be writing lyrics. I'd always be trying to think of what's going to make me stand out and be different to the other artists. So, and hard work, you know what I mean? It just taught me to just work really hard, because, if you didn't, you just fall away. And I didn't have nobody really backing me. I was doing a lot of it myself. So I think I learned some really, really important lessons in those days. I learned things like, because, for instance, everybody... Bit like what you get a lot even now. Yeah, everyone will come and they'll promise you this, and I can do this for you, and I can do that for you, and you pretty quickly start to learn that probably 70% of them don't.
80%
of them ain't doing nothing for you. Some of them are trying to rip you off. Some of them are just BSing it. So I just learned so many lessons then.
Yeah.
That I then, was able to carry a lot of those into when I'm doing stuff now, you know what I mean? And so I'm very grateful for those times. It's almost like it was a training ground.
Do you know what?
For now.
Everything you talk about there and everything I know of you today, I know how serious you take AFTV, DR Sports, and this whole football thing. And you're someone that I just know is always on their game. You're so organised. You're so meticulous. You're so well planned, thought out, and you're such a reliable guy. And I always thought, where does this come from? And usually with people, it's from a deep hunger. Some people it's because they've gone without. Some people because there's a lesson in life that's been taught to them. Or some people have been in a hard situation, or some people have or been inspired by something. And that's why I think I ask those questions. It's really interesting to know where you got this modern day version of it, where you're leading from the front.
And I'm a guy, I'm always very hungry for, hungry for success, hungry to do well. I want to do well. And I'm also a person that doesn't dwell on, if you have done well,
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And, enjoy it, revel in it at that moment. But then what's next?
Yeah.
What about tomorrow?
Yes.
I've always kind of got that view. So, when tomorrow comes, what's next? And it's a bit like if you draw the analogy like football, isn't it? I mean, Man City won the league last season, and the season before that.
Yeah.
But having a poor season this year, I'm sure Pep Guardiola is looking and saying to himself, well, listen, how do I turn this around?
Yeah.
What next? You know what I mean? Because you can only live off of those accolades for so long, despite the fact that he's won everything and he's done every accolade.
Yeah, and multiple times.
And multiple times.
Multiple clubs.
He's sitting there feeling it now, thinking, no, I got to get myself back into gear to do it again. So I'm kind of like that as well. Or I'm not a Pep Guardiola, but that's how I like to think. I like to think like, well done, pat yourself on the back, reward yourself, enjoy that moment, but then what's next? What are you going to do next? How do you take it to the next level?
So after the reggae career, you're working full time as a surveyor. Yeah, surveyor, and then obviously the AFTV thing. So how did the surveying come about? How did you train for that, qualifications, and what were you doing it for?
Yeah, I've been doing it. So I was doing the music stuff for quite a while. I was doing, and it wasn't so. I had the music career performing.
Yeah.
Then after a while, that started to fade.
Yeah.
Then I started doing lots of promotions, and I dabbled in the nightclub business and stuff like that. That started to fade a bit after a while, and I was like, yeah, I need to get a proper job. Right? I've got things to pay, man. I've got kids. I've got mortgage to pay and all that. So I was working for a housing department.
Okay.
And I remember I always used to. It's funny how I transitioned into that job, because I always used to see the surveyors coming in, because I worked in sort of housing, but in the they had a department where all the surveyors worked as well, and I always used to see them coming in their suits.
Yeah,
and they'd always be out the office. They'd be like, "Yeah, we've got to go out now. We've got to go and have a look at this building and that one." I was thinking, "Yeah, I want a job like that." I'm stuck in the office all day. I want one of them jobs. So they liked me at the place where I was working. And then I said, you know what? I go, they were doing this scheme where you could train. They had like a training scheme there where you could train to do, other jobs and things like that. So I said to them, I'd like to train to be a surveyor. So they're like, yeah, but that's not connected to the actual job that you're doing at the moment. So I said, yeah, but that's what I want to do. And if I can't do that, then I'll probably consider leaving, and they kind of liked me so much that they didn't want me to leave. So they then said to me, all right. So I started doing day release.
Okay.
And it was so hard. Like I was going to a college, in the College of Northwest London, it was at the time. I found it really difficult. When you sort of like, not studied for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you got to be studying for a degree and that. It was so tough, but got through that, did all that, and
got the
then
degree.
eventually got the surveyor's job, and became a surveyor, and then started, eventually left that place and was doing it at various different companies.
That's a huge transition from
it was
a reggae star to a surveyor with a degree, and then he goes to being a YouTuber.
You got as I said, that was really tough because like as I said, I hadn't studied for a long time.
Yeah,
so I'd forgot about like when they're giving you work to do and that, and then there was a lot. I was never really good at maths at school. Okay. And there was a big maths element to it. And I was thinking, why do I need this for? You know what I mean? But it was just a big maths element to it. But yeah, managed to get through that, scraped through that, and got the job. And once I got the job, I really enjoyed it. I used to really like, I was a building surveyor, so I used to really enjoy it, you know what I mean? And I did that for quite a few, about a good 6-7 years.
So when was your first Arsenal game?
My first Arsenal game was back in probably around about 88. It was in the 80s.
Okay.
The first Arsenal game. I had a season ticket at Highbury. I used to go to
Have
Highbury.
you had a season ticket then? Because this was going to be my next question, is when did you get the season ticket, which then led on to AFTV?
I don't know the exact year I got the season ticket, but I used to go at first. I didn't have a season because I was doing music, so I couldn't always go. I'd go to as many games as I could get to, but because of the music, like it might be like I've got a Saturday where I've got a show in Birmingham or Nottingham or something like that, so I couldn't, there's no way I could go to the game and then get away to, But I used to go to a lot of games. Still went to a lot of games, and and then I've eventually got the season ticket. And I remember I used to go with there's a guy who does a boxing channel.
Okay.
Called Coogan.
Coogan Cassius.
Coogan Cassius, right? Yeah. So me and him had a season ticket together. We used to go to games together.
Okay.
At Highbury. And I always remember like the last game at Highbury. He goes to me, yeah, Robbie, guess what, man? He goes, I can get us in a box for the last game, for the very last game.
When we beat Wigan 4-2.
Yeah, we beat Wigan. He goes, imagine all these years, man, we just come here grafting like in the North Bank, man. He goes, I've got a ticket. He goes, I've got 2 tickets in a box. I'm like, yeah. That was my first time I'd ever been in a box in my life at Highbury. I was like, we went in there, I was like, yeah, this is like a different world, man. All these years we've been going there, you know what I mean? But
I remember that game. We went down and then Henry scored a hat-trick, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely brilliant,
game.
Man. That's some great games there.
That kit as well, that red colour.
Do you know what game I was thinking about the other day, right? At Highbury. Do you remember when they did the game for Dennis Bergkamp?
Yeah.
And everybody wore orange and stuff like that. They had these orange T-shirts and stuff. I was thinking about that game the other day.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, I used to love Highbury. Highbury.
What a stadium. What a stadium. An old school, close stadium where you're on. For me, it just had an aura. It had a vibe about it. It was completely different from anything else I've ever experienced. Sitting anywhere in the ground, the North Bank, the clock end, it just had such a great feel to it.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was in the North Bank, it's funny enough, we was doing a podcast earlier and I was talking, Lee was saying that he used to sit in the clock end, that at one time the clock end didn't have no roof on it.
Yeah.
So he said he used to get wet.
I remember when they were building it.
Yeah. But I was in the North Bank, but I said to Lee, I remember sometimes in the North Bank, if you was right at the back and Arsenal were attacking, you had to duck down to be able to see down the other end.
Yeah.
Right, because of the way in which it dipped. Remember that?
Yeah.
So, and then I moved to the East Stand. Right, and then my season ticket, I moved around to the East Stand, and I remember I used to sit next to this Scottish guy. I always remember it. The guy he used to sit just in front of me.
Yeah,
and he used to come to a game. He used to come to a game every week with his wife.
Yeah,
and she never ever said anything. And he just sit there and moan about everything, right? And I always
a few people like that.
Yeah, he'd be turning around and goes, look at all. He always used to be. Imagine this guy now.
Yeah.
I always think to myself, imagine this guy now going to game, because he always be moaning about players like Thierry Henry and
mate.
And he used to turn around to his wife and goes, look at him, he's lazy. Thierry Henry's lazy. I know he's a great player, but look at him, he's just walking. I'm thinking like this guy, Thierry Henry, he's the best player.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I always think to myself, if that guy, I hope he's still on this earth, right? I always think to myself, imagine him over the years at the Emirates, or what he'd be thinking of some of the players now.
2010 and all that, mate. When we were playing in the Europa League on a Thursday night against Ludogorets or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. And do you know? I don't know if you've ever seen the video. There's a video that someone's got of me at Highbury.
Go on.
Right, in the crowd. That somebody, I don't know how this person found this, right?
Wow.
But it's like an old game.
Yeah.
That, they showed him old games on Sky. And they managed to locate me in the crowd. And I just can't believe it. It was, I'd heard it.
So then we move on to, you're a surveyor, an AFTV. I've kind of heard the story, but again, a story that, I really want to hear a bit more about. So how did the idea for AFTV come about? And how did you make that transition? Because I've heard I've heard you say before that you used to run around, you're doing your surveying job, and then you jump out the car, you have a high vis, and you take it off and you do your bit. So let's. Where did the idea come about?
The idea come about because it's a kind of combination of things. So Coogan, who spoke about earlier, who used to go to Highbury together, he started a channel. his boxing channel called AFTV. As a matter of fact, when he first started, it weren't just boxing. He used to do like a lot of sort of, it was called I Film London.
Okay.
So he used to do a lot of filming around London, fashion shows, various different things. And I saw him doing stuff on YouTube. So I was like, oh, this YouTube thing's interesting. Because remember, YouTube's still quite new at that time, 5 odd years in probably.
Yeah.
So I thought, that's interesting. You can post videos up on YouTube. And then I just got this idea that I want to interview fans, but in video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this, so, you know, so I was like, this YouTube thing's pretty cool, because if I can do it and put it out on YouTube, you know what I mean, it should be able to get some traction. So that's where the idea came about. I actually originally wanted to team up with Coogan to do it, because he obviously knew all about filming, he knew about editing, he had a guy that filmed, so I didn't have a clue about filming, editing, nothing.
Yeah, I bet he wishes he did now.
So I was like, Coogan, team up with me, but he was so busy doing his thing that he just couldn't do it. So in the end, I just went away and I just said, you know, stuff it, man, I'm just going to do it. And just got it started, linked up with a friend of mine who knew about filming and editing, and just got going, just got started.
Did you ever imagine it would be as big as it is?
No. You listen, you start something and you're ambitious that it's going to do well, it's going to be big, but I never ever thought they'd be as big as it is now, where you've got millions of followers and it's worldwide following and stuff like that. It's crazy. And some of the places I've been, some of the things I've done, I mean, it's just been...
I think you've got about 1.75 million subs, which is insane.
Yeah,
over 1 billion views. There's videos that have had over
that's just YouTube. A lot of times when people just... They talk about 1.7 million subs. That's just YouTube. But actually, the platform is way bigger than YouTube, because, we got Instagram, 1.5 million on Facebook. We got over 1 million on Instagram. We got approaching 1 million on TikTok. That will soon pass that. So across all the platforms that we use, and we got our app and everything, it's over 6 million.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
It's insane sometimes. And when you said, billions of views, and that's just on our platform. When you don't even take into account how much of our stuff is taken and clicked up on other platforms. And
the amount of, there's a guy, Terry Fleurs, does the Football Terrors, and he constantly, he makes a career out of sort of interviewing the interviewers, and it's fascinating that.
Yeah, you don't realise. The first times I used to just get spotted everywhere I went. I found it weird, and I used to be like, oh, what? People coming up to you, they want a picture, and I was thinking, oh, what's up with this, man? This gone a bit insane. And then it clocked to me, like someone said to me one day, they go, Robbie, you do realise that, like, on your YouTube channel and all these channels, you over 20 million people are watching you every month. Yeah. Or watching your channel, and you're in a lot of the content. I was like, actually, that's a point. That's a point, you know what I mean? So no wonder people know who I am, you know what I mean? So
no, I've been there myself outside the Emirates, literally trying to talk to you, and literally every 10 seconds someone's coming up, can I have a picture?
It's crazy. It's crazy. You all those things, when you set it up as well, you're not expecting none of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you want it to be successful. You're not expecting all the amount of people that are going to know who you are and want pictures and all. Those things came as a surprise. So what were the biggest challenges you faced early on in AFTV? I think the biggest challenges initially were, financing it all. Because, you got to go to every game. You got to up and down the motorway, abroad. Following up, because you want to keep the content consistent and being able to churn out the content consistently, especially when I was working at the same time. Yeah, it was tough. So, and then as you start to get bigger, other challenges come in. Challenges that you weren't expecting. Start to come in, and because this has gone from essentially you filming outside a football stadium, speaking to fans, what you did it for, to give fans a voice, to now full-scale business with how many employees? About 25 full-time staff, you've got studios, you've got, lots of things. In fact, we're sitting in your studio right here, right now, using your equipment to do this. So. Yeah, and, you just have lots more things to worry about and to today, since this morning, I woke up, I have not stopped. I have not even been able to look on my computer to have a look at like any emails or anything like that. It's just been non-stop all day today. So that's why it is like a lot of days.
So mentally, and this is, you know, since you touched on this, I am always very interested in how people sort of set up and deal and cope with stuff. So when you get up, from the moment you get up for a typical day, how do you prepare yourself mentally? How do you focus, you know, and also recently you've done a fantastic job with, you know, your health, you know, your weight loss, the journey that you've been on, which I've seen and witnessed, which is phenomenal. What is there any routines or anything specific that you do of a day to keep you, you know, locked in and sharp?
Yeah, I mean, going to the gym's a good one, although I didn't go this morning, but going to the gym's a good one. Trying to eat, like you said, trying to eat healthy and be healthy is important, because, you know, you need the energy.
Yeah.
You need the energy throughout the day. Trying to get a good night's sleep is, even though I didn't last night, for some reason, I woke up at about 4:30 and I couldn't get back to sleep. Like, it was a weird night, but I tried to get a good night's sleep. That's all important. And I think the main thing is, and I think this is important, if you're going to go into a business or you're going to go into something where it's going to take a lot of your time, you've got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love what I do. So because I love what I do, it's nothing for me to put in those additional hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think you've got to be passionate about what you're going to take up.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a business or if it's going to be something that is quite intense. If you love it, even though it is intense, it don't seem intense.
Yeah.
Because you're enjoying every minute. So I've enjoyed every minute of today. You know what I mean? We just done a great interview just before this, you know, with ex-football agent. I've been doing shows all day with like other creators that I absolutely love doing stuff with. So, you know, and then I've got to go to a function after this, which, you know what I mean, I'll enjoy being at that function. You know what I mean? So if you've got a passion for something, you know, it's all right. He's a footballer, for instance, they got a, train or a boxer or someone.
Yep.
But these guys, they enjoy what they do.
They love what they do. It's just not like working.
Yeah, so like even though the training for, say, a boxer, for instance, right, is really, really tough, every time I've spoken to a boxer, I say, don't you find, you know what I mean, like, you got to go to the gym twice a day and, you know what I mean, someone's punching you up and sparring. They go, I love it. So it's a lot different when you love something.
On that note, is there the most memorable, like, fan reaction or moment that you've had in AFTV? Could you pick something out, or meeting someone, a moment that you sort of really cherished?
Yeah, it's hard to pick stuff out because there's been so many cool moments over the years. But I always think meeting Thierry Henry and Ian Wright for the first time, two players that are my absolute heroes.
Yeah.
When Ian Wright first was my absolute hero, and to meet him and he knew me and knew of the channel and loved the channel, that was special. Same with Ian Wright when I met him, you know what I mean? Same with Thierry Henry when I met him, you know what I mean? And he knew me and he knew the channel, and he, you know, we was at an event that we did for Sky, and like we were there just chatting all day. It was incredible, you know what I mean? And there's been other ex-players I've met. You know, I remember meeting Michael Thomas, and you know, he was such a good guy, and he was like, I love AFTV and stuff like that. And yeah, just so many celebrities and stuff like I remember the other day, you were saying it earlier about the awards, and I won that award, and then I was just sort of going through my people had sent me a load of messages, and I was going through my phone, and it was a nice voice note from Ashley Waters.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was just listening to that. I was saying, that's nice that you sent me that, right? And then my daughter goes to me, she goes, Dad, man, that's the guy who's just been in adolescence.
Huge.
She goes, you know everybody, don't you? I was just not even clocking it. I was going, yeah, actually he's a big actor, you know what I mean? So you meet so many cool people on this journey.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. It's really good.
So on that note, let's talk a bit about this, the Sports Journalism Award, okay, which is an absolutely phenomenal achievement when you think about being outside stadiums, interviewing fans, and I've seen the journey of AFTV, and then obviously DR Sports as well. You've added that into the mix, and then now you're sitting here up against, I'd say up against some big hitters, but clearly you are the big hitter. And you were up against the overlap. You're up against Rio Ferdinand. Like the overlap.
BBC,
this is Sky. BBC.
Yeah.
This is Sky TV, and you've just gone and smoked them and pulled that off, which is phenomenal. So that was for what I understand the Keir Starmer interview. So how did that come about? And talk to me about the whole process, how it came about, the interview as well. And while I remember the question is, once you'd done that interview, did you just think, I've nailed this? This is what a top piece of work? And did you know that it was going to kind of go that way?
Well, you're not thinking it's going to win any award or anything like that. But because you're just not thinking out at the time. But it was great to win that award. It's a very prestigious award to win. You know what I mean?
It's like the BAFTAs for journalism, right?
It is, yeah, it is. So that's a very special award. When I one of the reasons we've won quite a lot of awards, but one of the reasons what I love about this one is that it shows how far we've come. You know what I mean? Like, when back in the day when, I have to be real, like a lot of the sort of established media, I think they looked down their nose at us. Yeah. And thought, what's these lot, rabble or whatever. Yeah. And to be in that room and to lift that award was really, really special. And also, the interview was a pretty cool interview. I think, interviewing the Prime Minister. And, I couldn't believe it when they reached out.
Yeah.
And said, the Prime Minister's office and said,
so they reached out to you?
They reached out to us.
And said, can we come on AFTV?
They reached out to us and they said, Robbie, we'd love it if you could interview Sir Keir Starmer. And I was like, huh? Serious? And they said, yeah, we love it. He's a massive Arsenal fan.
So he watches AFTV, right?
Well, I'm sure. He knew of the channel. Yeah, he knows of the channel. He's seen the videos and everything. So they reached out and they said, yeah, he's a massive Arsenal fan. He'd love to come on and talk about his love and passion of Arsenal. I said, yeah, that'd be a great interview. You know what I mean? Obviously, I ain't going to turn that down.
Prime Minister.
I was like, yeah, this is fantastic. And then I met him, and he was listen, I've seen before that he's a massive Arsenal fan, so I already knew that he'd know his stuff. But I was really shocked at how deep he knew Arsenal. It was like I was just talking to you. You know what I mean? He's a proper fan.
Wow.
He's a proper fan. He spoke about. I loved some of the things he spoke about in the interview about how he sat with those same fans that he's with for years and years. You know what I mean? And I think, now, obviously, because he's fully the Prime Minister, because at that time, the election was still going on. Yeah. So he was able to he said at those times, he sits with the same people he sat with for probably like 15 years at the Emirates. But obviously, now that he's the Prime Minister, he has to be in a director's box.
Security,
he said because of security reasons and that. But he was a mad, passionate fan, and that really came across in the video. If you watch it, he just comes across as obviously a very, very important person who's just a massive football fan. And I think that's one of the things about football that I love, in that you can be, as perceived the smallest person to the biggest person, but you share a common interest, and that's your love and passion of your football club. Yeah. And I've seen that worldwide. I mean, like at Christmas time, just for Christmas, we was over in Sierra Leone. We was doing a tour over there. And I met the president of the country and his wife. And his wife is a massive Arsenal fan and the president a United fan. Wow. And she goes, when Arsenal play United, it's like they bicker about it and stuff just like how anybody else would do. And that's the great thing about football. You know what I mean? It brings together everybody, don't it? It brings together different races, different religions, people who are completely different, completely opposite to each other, but they share same common interest, the same love of their football team. And football is powerful.
Hugely.
It's really, really powerful. We don't understand sometimes how powerful it is.
Yeah. I think that's something I've always said that I love is how football brings people together. Obviously, essentially, I know you through football, and the times it's given me with my daughter, my family, and it's not just the enjoyment of watching essentially 22 guys kick around a leather ball in between, two posts with a set of rules. It's the unity. It's just the whole spectrum and the whole world within it, and it's quite mind-blowing when you really think about it. And so then the awards, you get nominated for this award, right? And so what, you get the call from talk us through this process.
We got nominated for it, which I thought that alone was special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, to be nominated for it. And then, you know, we went to the awards ceremony, and when they said, you know,
when you're sitting there at your table and they call you out, they put the nominations up on the board, and you're like sitting there and you're reading it. It's like AFTV, because I saw it when you put it on Instagram, and I thought, wow, that's huge. And I saw who you were up against, and then, but you're sitting there, and obviously they go to give the award out, and they call out AFTV, Keir Starmer. You know, what is that like?
It's a bit like you don't know what to do. You're like, what? And if I was like, well done, I was gobsmacked, and I didn't have no speech written, nothing. I didn't even think about no speech.
Just freestyled the mic.
I didn't think of it because I don't know. I thought we had a good chance, right? Because I was like, Keir Starmer, that's a good interview, right?
Huge.
But even then, I'm not clocking it to say to myself, what if you do win? Maybe have a little speech ready and that. I didn't. I was just like, if we win, we win. If we don't, great that we got nominated. Yeah. So when you then got to go out there now and come up with a speech, I was thinking, when I'm walking up there, I'm thinking, shit, what am I going to say? You know?
What did you say?
I just said thank you, really, in general. I said thank you for it. Just told everybody up there that, you know, we've come a long way. Yeah. And it's a team effort, because it is as well. You know what I mean? Like, it was a shame that Ryan, who did the filming and editing of that, in charge of production on AFTV. He wasn't actually at the awards.
Okay.
But, you know, that's not possible without him. Yeah, I did the interview and stuff like that, but it's not possible without him. It's everything we do here is not a one-man thing. It's a one guy who had a vision, but it's not a one-man thing. And if I ain't got these guys that are so good at what they do, then, you know, it just does not happen.
I've noticed you've got an absolutely fantastic
production team.
And do you know what? The one thing that I've always said to everyone, and I've been, I'll say, surprised about, is since I've been in and around AFTV, is just what a lovely bunch of guys. Like you said previously about, you know, I've seen, look, you know, AFTV had at times bad rap in the media and the mainstream media, which obviously gave it huge notoriety. But all of you guys are such a welcoming bunch of guys. You're so knowledgeable about football. Nice, like even this today, you know, giving me your time, such a nice thing of you to do when you're such a busy man, which I greatly appreciate. And I've always, I'd not say been surprised, but surprised in a way how nice and knowledgeable you guys are.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm glad you said that. That's nice to know. You know what I mean? Because for me, I think we've got a great team here. We've got a great bunch of men and women who work here. Yeah. And I really enjoy working with everybody here. We have such a laugh, and it's like natural. It's not like, you know, we just have fun. If you can do a job, right, where you're having fun. Yeah. And there's nothing better. Yeah. And we have a lot of fun here, man. We have a lot of laugh, we have a lot of fun, there's a lot of banter, but it's not that the people don't work hard. The people are working really, really hard here. But it's all about, I love the fact that we have fun with it.
Yeah, I've always noticed that as well, outside the ground, etc., and all of that stuff. So I'm gonna lead on to Robbie Lyle's all-time dream team. Okay, any formation you want. Okay,
right.
Goalkeeper, whether you want to play a back three, back four, midfield three, however you want to do it.
Or Arsenal, or
all-time,
every player,
every single player. Ooh. Yeah, every single player. Because I know, one thing I know about you, you've got some serious ball knowledge, like serious.
But I ain't giving this no thought, man. Now that you've thrown, like, I can have anybody I want.
So I'm gonna. This is a. Yeah. This is big. I was gonna say to you Premier League, or I think Arsenal and then Premier League, but I thought no. Listen, let's. There's
gonna be some biased views in there. So from a biased point of view, I put David Seaman in goal just because I used to love David Seaman as a goalkeeper. Yeah. With the old ponytail and that, you know what I mean? And he was a great keeper. A great keeper.
I think as an orthodox goalkeeper, if there was a manual of goalkeeping, it's David Seaman. He's the best orthodox goalkeeper, technical goalkeeper ever, I believe.
Right back. Who'd I put your right back? Because if it's everybody, I've got a big choice here, man.
There's a big choice here. I was going to ask you, I probably might have slightly stitched you up, but I was going to ask you this question before, but I thought, no, do you know what?
Yeah, I'm going to be biased Arsenal as well. I'm going to put Lauren in there.
Okay.
Right, because no, you know who you got to put in there? Like, what was that? Oh, I've forgotten his name. The Brazilian right back used to play for. He played for. Was it AC Milan or Inter Milan? What? I forgot his name.
No.
Oh, I've forgotten his name now. Cafu.
Yeah, Cafu.
Yeah, Cafu's got to be right back.
Okay. What? Go on. The Cafu. Why Cafu?
Because to me, he revolutionised that position.
Okay.
Right? The way he just used to get up and down. He was the first person I see do that, where he's just getting up and down, up and down, up and down. But also was a great defender as well. So unbelievably talented, skillful. He was brilliant.
Yeah.
Centre backs, bias.
Okay.
And it's Tony Adams, right? Has got to be in there.
So what? Just because of his natural leadership abilities,
everything about him. It's him and Sol Campbell I could put there, and I know that's secured.
Yeah,
I know that's secured. Maybe there's obviously going to be centre backs better than them. You could Cannavaros and people like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick with them too.
Sol Campbell's a serious defender as well.
Solid defenders. Left hand side, right? Roberto Carlos.
Okay.
Unbelievable. I always remember that free kick he scored. Again, revolutionised that position.
Yeah.
Right? Going into midfield. There's some good midfielders, man. I mean, I've got Vieira in there.
Okay.
He's my guy, Vieira's in there. Again, that's quite biased. Do you know what I mean?
Just purely because of his strength, size, ability,
everything about him. Invincible, of course.
Yeah. And you think he just was a complete midfielder, had the lot?
Complete midfielder, had the lot. Then, that midfield. There's a lot of good midfielders, man. There's Pirlo, Eyes for Love.
Iniesta,
Xavi, there's Zidane.
Yes.
I think I put Zidane.
Okay. What Zidane? Talk to me.
Just as an unbelievable player. He had everything, absolutely everything, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely everything.
Big midfielder. He had a great vision. He had a great eye for goals. Scored goals. Defended well. Yeah. Commanded a team very well.
Yeah. So Zidane. So I got Vieira, Zidane.
Yeah. So what are you going? I'll take it you're going 4-4-2. It's going old school 4-4-2.
No, 4-3-3. I'm going to go
4-3-3. Yeah. Okay.
4-3-3. My front line. So
who's next?
Should I put Pirlo in there? Or maybe Xavi? Xavi was brilliant as well, man.
He was. And Iniesta as well.
But Pirlo, I just loved the way he just glided around. Pirlo in there.
Yeah.
Front three.
Okay. This is where it gets interesting, scoring goals.
Unfortunately, it's looking like Dennis Bergkamp might have to miss out in this,
Yeah, okay. I get that.
Because I'm going to have to put Henry down the middle.
Yeah. Right. I get that. Do you know what?
I've got to get Messi and Ronaldo in there, haven't I?
Yeah, I think so.
So Messi on one side, Ronaldo on the other. That's the front three.
That is an awesome team.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, you've balanced. You've got the strength at the back. Yeah. You've got the flanks covered, and then you've got the creativity in midfield, and you're solid in midfield as well. And then up front, two of the best generational talents.
And then you could have even had like R9, original Ronaldo in there as well, but Henry's got to be in that team, man. I mean, simple as that.
So going to that, so you've obviously, watching Henry. What in your experience of watching Henry live? What was that like?
He was just the best player I'd ever seen live in an Arsenal shirt. You know what I mean? He had everything.
Yeah.
Pace.
Yeah.
Skill. Just everything. It's every attribute you can think of. He's the complete forward player.
Yeah, that's how I saw him.
The most exciting player to. You just go to watch games, and you go to an away ground, and the away fans would be like, "Hey, mate, I'll tell you what, he's the best player I've ever seen."
Wow. So, are there any interviews that you want to make happen next? Is there anyone in the public eye out there that you have got your eye on, and you think, do you know what? I want to get you on AFTV.
Well, I'd love to do Saka because we've never done Saka before.
Yeah.
I'd love to do an interview with Saka.
Yeah.
Who else? I've not really given it.
Because this is your time to call them out.
Yeah, I've not given it loads of thought to tie down. I always wanted to do Idris Elba.
Okay.
He's a big Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
great actor.
So Idris, if you're out there and you're listening, you get on now.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do him. I don't know. You put me on the spot there. You know what?
You like that one?
Yeah, because there's off the top of my head, there's loads I'd love to do. There's loads of Mike Tyson I'd love to do.
Wow.
I could draft you a list because
Robbie's Christmas wish list.
Yeah, there's a lot of people I'd love to interview, man.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I'd say first and foremost, I'd love to do Saka.
Yeah, of course.
We've never done an interview with him. Met him before.
Just quickly, we spoke about this the other night. What was that moment like the other night at the Emirates? Is obviously Saka at this point. Saka's just come back from a serious injury layoff, hamstring, and then he came back the other night. And
it was an incredible moment. Like the way the fans reacted to him. Just even warming up.
Yeah,
I knew it was going to be like that. I knew before the game. I was saying to the guys, wait till you even see him warming up, the reaction he's going to get. He's a special player and he's a special guy, humble guy. Everybody loves it. I think I heard Arteta say, how can you not love him?
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah.
How can you not love him?
And then he comes onto the pitch to an
and then scores.
Awesome reception.
Yeah.
I mean, the reception was like we'd scored a goal.
Yeah.
And then he pops up back post with a header, which is not always like him. And the place went absolutely crazy.
No, it was incredible. Yeah, I always say to people sometimes, right? Games... And I've seen this so many times over the years, right? Games that are unassuming that you think, don't even know if I could be bothered tonight.
Yeah.
Those games many a times turn out to be these gems.
Yeah, like that.
Because anybody who's at that game the other night will be able to
remember that.
Will remember that.
For the rest of their
I was
life.
there when Saka came back from his injury.
And he scored the goal
and he scored
as well.
the goal, and the place, it was not just
Erupted.
being there. That's the thing about, football, like the memories that are created. And that was one of them.
Yeah. So I know we're a bit time bound, so I'm going to start wrapping it up. But you ventured into other areas like DR Sports.
Yep.
So what's the long-term vision for your media empire?
Well, the long-term vision is try to have a media empire.
No, I think you've got it.
I don't think it's a media empire. Yeah, I think we've got a media company, and I think it's doing well. But that's what I want to aim to do. I want to have I want this to be a media company that really does leave its mark. You know what I mean? Not just with AFTV, but with DR Sports. With sports in general. Okay. I think it can even encompass other things like maybe fashion and music and that as well. Maybe that. So in the future as well. So
just quickly, sorry, explain to everyone if they don't know already what DR Sports is.
So DR Sports is my channel, which is all football. So all football, all sports. Although we concentrate at the moment mainly on football. And again, it's very similar to AFTV, where it's fan driven. It's all about the fans. We do everything from a fan's perspective. And it's we got some great shows, some great talent on that channel. And the vision is just to, as you said, make it be a media empire. That would be if that's what it becomes, that'd be fantastic.
And how do you see growing that? How do you see growing that? What do you think would be the core values, the vision and the core values and the driving force behind that?
Driving force and core values behind that is always to do it for the fans and for the fans to be the voice of it. And that's what it's about. That's what's the driver, to create great content that's fan driven and is about fans.
Yeah.
And that is the vision.
Cool. So if you could go back and give yourself one bit of advice when you started AFTV or when you started being a surveyor or the Reggae, what would it be?
One bit of advice when you're doing AFTV, be prepared for knocks, what I mean? Be prepared for, because a lot of times you start stuff and you're not really thinking of the possible downsides that can come. Right, and they are going to come. You're going to get them. So learn how to cope with those, and just sort of learn as well that sometimes these things, and sometimes things are not as bad as they seem.
Yeah,
many a times things can happen, and at the time it seems terrible, and it ain't as bad as you thought.
How do you cope with that?
By thinking that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when, you know, you got a bad moment or something has happened that's not great, you know what I mean, maybe, you know, something went wrong, it will pass.
Yeah.
It will pass, you know what I mean? It was like, you know, it's not going to last forever, you know what I mean? Just
This too
keep
shall
working
pass.
hard, strive to what you're doing, and always, you know, always concentrate on, you know, your goal.
Yeah.
Don't be distracted by, you know, noise.
And anyone that's potentially looking to get into the YouTube space and create a channel or a name for themselves, what would the biggest bit of advice that you could give them be?
Well, first of all, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people who have a dream or a vision that they, you know, they don't execute. And if you don't execute it, you're never going to know whether you were able to do it or not. So first of all, do it. If you, as I said, try and make it your passion, because if something's your passion, you're willing to put in all the extra hours, which you're going to have to do if it's going to be successful. So if it's your passion, go for it. Go for it and do it. And as I said, sort of, you know, when you're doing these sort of things to do with social media and that, there can be naysayers and noise. Just ignore that. Just stay focused, because what you'll find is that's a tiny percentage.
Yeah.
People who actually appreciate your stuff will watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They may not always comment, they may not always come out with no fanfare or whatever, but they're enjoying your content, right? So don't let a few noisy, as Alex Ferguson once said, the noisy neighbours or just some little noisy people, don't let that distract you.
Yeah.
That's all it is, noise.
Yeah.
You know? So you be focused and be prepared to work hard, and you know, find your niche and find your passion and go for it.
Brilliant.
Because if you don't go for it,
You'll never know.
You never know, innit?
No, you don't, of course. Well, look, thank you so much, Robbie. I really appreciate it. It's been amazing, and I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed watching this. I've had great fun and doing this, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, please like, please comment. It really helps. I've had an absolutely awesome time. You've been an absolute legend, mate.
Nice
and one of the nicest guys, as I say, I've met in life and had the honour to be around. Well done on your achievements. Keep it going. Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me work alongside you as well.
No worries,
in AFTV. It means the world to me.
We enjoy it. So no, and you're great. So thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. So over and out. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next video.
Brilliant.
Is that good?
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good.